Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Wolverine issue number 43. This is part 3 of the Sabretooth War. This is pretty good. Just when I was thinking, oh, this is actually a rather tame issue, all of a sudden they have to go and have a conversation with Laura. And it becomes a one sided conversation real quick. Let's get into all that good stuff first. Let's talk about who made this book. So we got Victor Lavelle and Benjamin Percy as the writers, Jeff Shaw on art, Alex Sinclair doing the color art, and VC's Corey Petit on letters. This is a fantastic issue in an amazing series, and I mean amazingly gruesome and terribly violent. But I'm digging it. So there's that. Two of the saber teeth from the previous issue are dead and gone. They wound up getting killed by Aurora and North Star and all the defenses that had popped up. We haven't seen Wolverine in this issue at all, aside from Laura, which some people would argue is Wolverine also, but those people are not welcome here. I'm joking, partially. Anyway, Wolverine actual, Logan, he doesn't show up in this. Because I'm really curious, like, what happens? Does he go back and grab his hands and feet, put them back on, and let them heal? Okay, I'm just going to get into this right now because it keeps on popping up in my head. At one point, Laura starts talking trash. All right, Laura Kinney, X-23, that's her real name. You can give her a different name if you want, just not Wolverine. Wolverette, if you want, for all I care. I could care less, but it's not Wolverine. Anyway, she's captured and she's in that main room where the Sabretooths do all their hunting, right? They're cyber hunting with all the headless Sabretooths in the background. Turns out that they're all headless because Sabretooth's son, what the frick was his name? I remember this from back in the day. I can't remember it now. Anyway, his son, Grayson, um, he goes around, he starts killing all of them and chopping off their heads and then making them mechanical so they can do really freaky stuff. All right, love it. I'm down for it. Turns out also a lot of this stuff got set up in Sabretooth and the Exiles. Oops. That book was just seeming a little bit too damn weird for me and I couldn't continue with it. It was really good at first and then it just started to kind of sink for me. But it turns out it was actually going someplace. I almost feel like I should go back and read those. Anyway, with Laura talking trash, she gets pulled down by the female Sabretooth here, the Savage Land version. This is basically the Kazar version of Sabretooth. Anyway, because the feathery Sabretooth started talking a little bit of trash, like, you know what, you just cost two of our guys' life, the Captain America one and the other one. You caused them to get killed. Like, how could you? That's not cool, man. And Sabretooth's like, hey, don't you ever question me. We've already seen Sabretooth as kind of a jackass. There's the little shades of him being a jackass here. Hey, I'm in charge. Do what he said. But because I said it, that stuff. Anyway, kind of goes after Sabretooth, actual Prime 616. Our Sabretooth is tougher than him. So he just, boom, one shot and brings him down. Technically two shots, but anyway. And then he leaves this Sabretooth to heal. Savage Land Sabretooth doesn't want to hear, what's her name, Laura, talking trash because she's like, oh, are you guys just clones? I used to think I was a clone too. Wait a second. You're not a clone? I'm pretty sure she's supposed to be a clone. There's this whole thing, the NYX, the Nyx thing. She was a clone. We're doing revisionist history here. I'm usually not a fan of revisionist history. I like the history that was given. Nyx, issue number 1 through 4, are incredible books that are high sellers. You'd figure that would be a good indicator to not change the past. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a guy who reviews comic books. Anyway, so does some leech gas in there. You remember Leech from the Mutants? Sucks away powers for a couple of moments, mutant powers specifically. Brings her down, opens up, goes over. They don't show it specifically, graphically, but they show the after effects. Her jaw ripped out, the whole mandible on the ground, and blood is just kind of pouring out of her mouth, and she's like this, I guess, trying to scream, but that would be a really gurgly mess. And in Kazar Sabretooth's hand is her tongue. It's not just like the little part of it like in the front. You can tell she actually tore out the jaw so she could get a better grip on the tongue and pulled it out from way back in the esophagus, like pulled out chunks of it. She says, this will take a little longer to heal. Oh, I am loving the graphic violence in here. Plus, she doesn't have her healing factor right now. She, when the leech stuff comes in, she's like, this will take a little longer to metabolize. It's like, unless you really like this pain, or unless you're Honey Badger who doesn't feel pain, maybe shut up. That's just me. Maybe just shut up and bide your time. No, it's just me. She's got these unbreakable claws that could pop out. Why not try and work on getting the freaking doors open? Anyway, what do I know? I'm just some guy who reviews comic books on occasion. So anyway, yeah, that happens. Aside from that, the art in this, I have to say, is probably one of the best parts, because aside from that ridiculously graphic scene, holy freaking crap, dude. Right in the beginning, before we even get to the title page, Sabretooth is looking and he's seeing the two other Sabretooth I was just mentioning in his vision. You actually see the reflection in his eyes. I'm looking, I'm like, damn, this is actually beautiful. Frightening, but beautiful. Percy's always been an interesting character. All right, Benjamin Percy. And yes, I'm calling him a character in this, because I've always seen he's got the potential to do an amazing Wolverine, right? After that Longest Winter thing, you'd figure he would be pulling out the absolute best stuff imaginable, right? Sometimes. He still kind of punks out Wolverine a little bit too much, which is, do you not want Wolverine to be one of your top bestsellers out there? Because he used to be. He could be again. I'm just saying. But when Victor Lavelle came in with this Sabretooth War, got elevated to the next level. It's almost like he was more of the editor than anything else, saying, nah, don't do that. That's stupid. That makes Wolverine look like a punk. Nah, don't do that. That's stupid. That makes Wolverine look like an idiot. Nah, don't do that. That makes Sabretooth look too weak, right? I feel like Lavelle, I don't know if he'd be, maybe I read something with him before. I know, I'm pretty sure I have. I just can't remember it right now. And I always do these immediately after I read. I don't do research after I read. I always want it to be a genuine and authentic response to what I just read. But I wonder if he hasn't already done it and succeeded. I wonder if Lavelle would be good at doing a Wolverine series by himself. Just saying. I'd love to see it if I haven't already. Because I think that they always say two heads are better than one, right? Meanwhile, if you tie two pigeons together, they can't fly, even though they have twice as many wings, right? So it's a give and take. In this particular case, though, I am loving what I'm reading. I would love to see Lavelle do some Wolverine and some Sabretooth stuff, whatever, by himself. I would love to see that. Is he the guy who wrote Sabretooth and the Exiles? Huh. Might be. The art in this, though. We're talking Jeff Shaw. Like, I'm taking a pause. I'm thinking a lot about what I want to say. But for a comic book that has intense graphic violence, it's clearly not for anybody younger than a teenager. My kids will not be reading these books anytime soon. That's for damn sure. For a book that still has some humor and is making the main antagonist in this not as serious as he could be. Should be? Questionable, but could be, for sure. There could be zero humor, zero stupidity on Sabretooth's part, but it almost amplifies things by having him be so dumb. there's almost nothing more dangerous than the person who's put in a leadership position who does not belong in a leadership position, right? There's almost nothing more terrifying than a dumb person put in charge who's too dumb to realize how dumb he actually is. Am I wrong? And that's Sabretooth in every way, shape, and form here. Sabretooth is that bully in every way imaginable. He is that bully who would be killed in his sleep if it were any other group, right? And he plans for that. He's got Quentin Quire and that device thing that he's got that's keeping his dead body alive, his dead mind alive. And he's saying, wake me up if anybody comes too close. Give me some kind of a warning. I'm loving it. The art reflects everything, I feel, that the writers are trying to convey. I cannot express enough how perfect Jeff Shaw is for this comic book series, this arc. Because almost every single thing that I'm looking at in this comic book just makes it a comic book. It's one of those things where I love reading novels. I don't need to see pictures when I read things. But man, I would not know what I was missing if this were a novel as opposed to a comic book. And there are plenty of times when I've said this particular book would be better as a novel, blah, 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 blah. No, definitely not the case in this. This is a comic book. This is those old epic comic books. This is those old eerie comic books. Those old comic books that made you kind of stop and think, what if? This is violent. All of those. I'm loving what I'm reading right now. With everything that's happening in this comic book, with all the backstory stuff. Also, does anybody know what that was a map of at the end? Quentin seemed to have that little thing there. Because it wasn't Australia, because that would have been interesting. The whole Reavers thing. It wasn't even Madripoor or Krakoa, which I thought maybe it's one of those. Excuse me, some completely different island. Maybe you guys recognize the island for something. I don't. Let me know if you recognize it, or even if you got a guess. That's what the comment section is for, baby. It's like, I think we're going on a treasure hunt. Interesting, since right now his biggest nemesis is Necra, who's on the sea doing some Moby Dick stuff, right? And don't forget what the Moby Dick story is. Captain Ahab goes on the sea. Ishmael narrating at least the first half of the story, talking about how the captain is seeking revenge against an animal. The Bible talks about don't try and seek revenge against animals. Animals aren't free thinkers. Animals don't have a soul, as it were. Animals don't have maliciousness inside of them, all right? They can do things that appear malicious, but they are not in and of themselves malicious beings, even the Wolverine, right? Even the jackal, right? They hunt the way that they're able to hunt so that they can eat, because they're all, both of those I just mentioned are predators, but they're scavengers more than anything else. Think also of the buzzard, right? The buzzard will go for your eyes first, so it's harder for you to fight back. It's not about being malicious. It's about, this is how I'm going to be able to eat today, So the monster, the whale, Moby Dick, was not in fact evil, right? It couldn't think that way. It's just a whale. Ate part of my leg. But seeking revenge against an animal is such a silly thing to do. And it wound up destroying Ahab long before the book even began, right? Long before the narration even began. Is that what's going to happen with Necra? Because that's the imaging that I'm seeing here. That would be great long-term storytelling if that's the case. People are dying right now. X-Men are dying. Former Krakoan citizens are dying. And it's wicked to see all of these deaths. It's amazing to see, or to think about the potential of how most of these people will in fact be coming back. I'm digging on this. Like the video, watch an ad. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.